The Nigerian Treasury Bills market is witnessing subdued investors' interest driven by tight system liquidity. Traders at UB expect the week to close with similar sentiment as investors digest latest inflation numbers. Chuka Nwachukwu, chief dealer and head of trading at the United Bank for Africa, joins me now live in our Lagos studio for more market movement. Chuka, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Really now, how is the market digesting the latest inflation numbers we're seeing here?
Yeah, like you rightly mentioned, the market is subdued today. Obviously, everybody is trying to watch what investors' appetite will be. Though we've seen moderate trading, especially on the short end of the curve on the T-bill side. Yeah, so we've also on the bond side, the activity is more around the 2033 bond, which is obviously for the past few weeks now, it's been one of the investors' delights. So that bond is currently trading around upper 15 levels.
Nothing surprising really at this moment. But let's talk about how the market is also focusing on the next MPC meeting, which will be holding on Monday and Tuesday, and the expectations around this easing cycle. Let's give or take a 25 basis point rate cut now. How do you see this likely signaling from the MPC impact the market going forward?
Yeah, so, the activities on the fixed income market yesterday and today obviously have one eye on the MPC meeting, especially with the inflation figure that came out yesterday. We saw about 75 basis point drop on the inflation figures, which obviously means that a lot of things have been put right. And so that will obviously affect MPC decision. The last time I said if the inflation result drops, the way expected moderately, we will see about 25 basis points rate cut here, and that's what the market is expecting.
And talking about expectation as well now, pressure is also intensifying when we are looking at expected moves from the US Federal Reserve. President Trump is pretty clear, pushed the policy rate to about 1%. How do you think our central banks might also likely respond to this sort of moves? Because really at the end of the day, when the US sneezes, everybody catches a cold, literally.
Absolutely, yeah. But, for us, our central bank policy makers, especially the governor, has always, said about, his intent, to cut, to watch the inflation, one, and secondly, he's keen towards price stability, and that's why you've seen some of the activities happening on the FX side. So everything will still boils down to what Fed does, and like you rightly mentioned, that is the superpower in the economy. So I think that the whatever Fed does in the coming days, we affect what...
So that's where we'll see the momentum at about September?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And narrowing down a little more into trading action, you had already talked about how we're seeing quotes around the T-bills and then the bond market now. But how tight do you see liquidity going forward, and in terms of further market movements we should expect?
Everything around the market, fixed income, FX, centers around liquidity. So this week, liquidity opened around about 200 billion long. Credit, let me use the word now. And then as at yesterday and currently is around 641 billion short. So what it means is that the system is tight. And that was why yesterday we saw rate move around the 28, 30, 31 levels. And that will continue today if liquidity continues to be tight. We see a bit of respite next week. Hopefully FAC will be paid next week, and that will bring in a little bit of respite. So, but between now and next week, we continue to see very tight system liquidity, and then, of course, rate will be within that 30, 31, 32.
And talking about respite in the market as well now, we've also seen the CBN intervene in the market. But how do you think this would also translate, whether or not to a stronger Naira? The last conversation we had, you talked about the Naira reaching about the upper range of 1,500, but now today, as we're speaking, is around that 1,530. In terms of interventions, how much more should we expect the CBN to get into the market to support the Naira? It doesn't like to use that term, but how much more intervention? And then when we're looking at the movements, what should we expect?
I think the CBN has done pretty well, and that's why we've seen the stability In fact, Naira had actually done better than what I predicted. So it's trading around, like you rightly mentioned, around 1530 levels. The CBN has been able to clear out.
We all had our cards around 1.6.
Yeah, but I mean, they kind of like surprised us because again, what we have also seen is that what has helped Naira mostly is the willing buyer, willing seller, system. So it makes the system liquid, and so once system is liquid, and marketers or traders have options, it gives that flexibility, and that's why I'll give kudos to CBN because they've been able to clear some of the backlogs. They've been able to clear some, inject more funds into the FX market. And so for me, I wouldn't say if we get to 1,003 levels, but again, within this 1,540, 550, might probably see 1,525 levels.
Well, we should expect it to grow stronger. Yeah. Well, we'll have to leave the conversation here for now. Thank you so much for your time on the show today.
Thank you.
That is Chuka Nwachukwu, Chief Dealer and Head of Trading at the United Bank of Africa.